So the PlayStation VR 2 came out earlier this year. I'm very late in even reviewing these things, but I love VR systems, and let's go and take a look at what some of the differences are between the PlayStation VR 1 and the VR 2. Now, starting off, there were several years in between these two devices coming out. I think the PSVR 1 came out in 2016. The VR 2 came out in 2023. So there were massive amounts of years and different things that came out in between them. Now, for one, the build quality and the way they look, it's not really as big of a difference as you may think. There definitely is a styling difference, but for the most part, the way they're kind of structured is kind of the same way. It's not the difference between a Quest 2 and the VR, PSVR 2. It's not like that. They're relatively kind of similar, but I will say they've done a great job in making the PSVR 1 look like the PS4 and the PSVR 2 look like the PS5. I think that was a really, really nice touch that they did. Now, starting off with the outside, there is basically a few differences between them. So for one, the actual headsets themselves are a little bit different. The way they look, obviously it's a little bit different. You're getting overall a much punchier type of system, in my opinion, that looks a lot more like a VR headset or looks a lot more modern on the PSVR 2 than on the PSVR 1. But like I said, that's mostly probably just for me because I like my PS5 so much that's kind of how it looks. You're also getting a little bit of a different type of, cabling on them. So with the PSVR 1, that cable at the end is like a dual HDMI cable kind of thing that's going on between those two. With the PSVR 1, it's literally just a USB-C cable that you're getting, which is honestly very nice. It kind of gives it a little bit of an easier way of kind of going through and just kind of plugging it in and kind of using your, system that way. I think with the PlayStation VR 1, there were just so many cables and things you had to go and keep track of. But now with the PSVR 1, it's a little bit easier. And I definitely do appreciate that from Sony of giving us a little bit of an easier way of kind of using our system on the PSVR 1, or from the PSVR 1 to the PSVR 2. Now, on top of that, there are some key differences within those cables. There is no USB-C on the, actual PSVR 1, which is probably okay to a lot of people, but we are getting that on the PSVR 2, which is honestly a really, really big deal in and of itself, at least from my perspective. Now, turning these things on, there's also some differences with the controllers. So the controllers on the VR 1, they were cool. They were DualShock 4 controllers, so you can use them, you can use the DualShock 4 controller if you want to with your PSVR 1, system. But you also have those PlayStation Move controllers, which are kind of cool. With the PSVR 1, those controllers looked a little different. I don't know what they were trying to do there, but with the VR 2, it definitely looks a little bit better. And I do think the controllers themselves on the PSVR 2 are overall better than on the PSVR 1, which is awesome. Like I said before, I love seeing these types of improvements from Sony, and this is no exception. So that is a really, really cool thing that they did from that perspective alone as well. Now, on top of that, you are also getting very good styling between them. I think when you turn these things on, there's a lot of overlap, depending on which games you want to play and all that stuff, but it is what it is. There's not too many differences. The resolutions of these specific systems are very different as well. So the PlayStation VR 1, you're getting 960 by 1080. So almost like 1080p kind of, but not quite. With the PSVR 2, you were getting 2000 by 2040 per eye. That is the difference between 1 megapixel on the PSVR 1 per eye to 4.1 megapixels on the PSVR 2 per eye. Very, very big differences. They still maintain the 90Hz to 120Hz refresh rate, but that in and of itself is a really big difference, which honestly could mean that some people would go ahead and change some things and go up to a VR 2. You can also see that with the PSVR 2, you are getting the pass-through view. Because it does have the cameras on the outside, you are able to not only see what's going on with your system, but also see outside and seeing what's going on in your real life. With the PlayStation VR 1, you don't have any pass-through cameras. So once you put on your headset, that's it. You're pretty much, you can't go see anything after that because there's no cameras outside. So that was another thing that kind of threw me off a little bit with the PSVR 1 because I was so used to it on the Quest 2. But you are getting that type of capability on the PlayStation VR 2, which is honestly pretty cool. So overall, what I'll definitely tell you is that there's not really a headset that I'd look at and be like, okay, this is the one that is a bad headset, but the PSVR 2 is a much, much better headset than the PSVR 1. If you have a PlayStation 5, it only makes sense to go and buy something like the PSVR 2. It really doesn't make that much sense to go and buy something like the PSVR 1 as of this point, mostly because it's just kind of stuck in this kind of weird limbo phase where it would just make a lot more sense to go ahead and buy something like the PSVR 2 just because you're getting the most up-to-date device. The PSVR 1 is good if you have a PlayStation 4, or if you already have a PSVR 1 and you want to, go to the PSVR, or if you want to use it on your PlayStation 5, because you can. But for everyone else, I would probably just recommend sticking with the VR 2 if you have the ability of doing so, because it is that much better of a device. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.